This video is brought to you by DeliverContacts.com, who has the top brands at the lowest prices with free delivery. In this video, we're going to talk about power and contact lenses. Other things we'll talk about is cylinder, axis, and add as they pertain to contacts. But before we get going, we got to explain how does the eye work. All right, so let's draw an eye here, and let's say the eye is looking at a tree across this tree. When light comes into the eye, light comes in and focuses on the back of the eye at a point called the fovea. If light focuses there, it should be 20/20. By the way, we have these muscles in our eye that should be relaxed, and this lens in our eye should also be flat. If light focuses in front of that fovea, we call it nearsighted, and behind it, we call it farsighted. All right, but a perfect eye focuses right on that fovea. All right, now let's draw an eye here that's looking at this book that's 16 inches away. Instead of light being parallel, light divergent, which pushes the point back behind the fovea. The eye has to bring that point forward. How does it do it? By flexing these muscles and changing that lens to a round shape. So these muscles work and the lens becomes round instead of flat anymore. This gap here is, let's just say it's 2.5 millimeters. We have to move it forward, so we say plus 2.5. But we don't say millimeters, we say diopters. Okay, so we measure light in diopters, not units of millimeters. Okay, so this is a perfect, whoops, that's blurry. Okay, so this is a perfect eye. Let's remember this as we move on into the other pictures here. Okay, so let's say we got an eye that's looking far away, but instead of focusing on that fovea, it focuses in front of the fovea at this point. All right, let's just say that point's 2.25 millimeters, diopters away from the back of the eye, so we have to move it backwards, minus 2.25. All right, so when light focuses in front of the fovea, we call it nearsighted, okay? And that power of that contact lens that you would need is minus 2.25. So there's where that 2.25 comes in. All right, well, what about why do we call it nearsighted anyway? Because when you look up close, remember, in a perfect eye, the point gets moved back 2.5. Well, if you start at 2.25 and the point gets moved back 2.5, well, the point's almost right on the fovea, and those muscles don't even have to work. Okay, so a nearsighted person doesn't even have to work for up close. Nearsight is easy, and that's why we call it nearsighted. You have nearsight. You say what you have. You have nearsight. All right, that moves us into the next one. You can probably guess this is going to be farsighted. With the farsighted person, when they're looking far away and light's parallel and their muscles are relaxed, their lens is flat, light would focus behind the back of the eye. That's farsighted. Instead of light focusing on the fovea, it focuses behind, 2.25. But, you know, so that point needs to be moved forward, 2.25 diopters. Okay, so the reason that we call it farsighted is because when a farsighted person goes to look at something up close and that point gets pushed back, remember, it gets pushed back this 225 already, but it's got this extra 250 added onto it because just for the normal eye. So that's a total of 4.75 diopters. So these muscles really have to work to see far away, and that lens has to change the shape, but to see up close, these muscles really got to work hard and to focus 475 forward. Okay, so it's very hard, much harder to see up close, and it's easier to see far. So because it's easier to see far, that's why we call it farsighted. Okay, you say what you have. Okay, you have farsight. You don't have so much nearsight. So what would the power of this contact lens be? Plus 225. Plus 2.25. And then the eye is the full light's on the fovea and point comes forward 250. All right, so moving on forward again. What if light comes in and focuses on the fovea? Nope, doesn't focus on the fovea. Focuses in front of the fovea. Nearsighted, right? That's one point of focus. All right, but what if instead of just one point of focus, there's another one? There's 2 points of focus. Guess what we call that? We call 2 points of focus astigmatism. Okay, when you have 2 points of focus instead of one, that's astigmatism. All right, forget that whole football shape thing you might have heard about. Astigmatism means 2 points of focus. Let's say one of those points is at minus 3 and the other point is at minus 425. Well, the gap between the two is 125, right? Okay, so we have 2 points. So when we write up your prescription, we'll say minus 3 sphere power, and then we'll say the cylinder power will be minus 1.25. The cylinder power is the size of the gap. Okay, we don't say the second number. And then we have this X here. That means axis 180. All right. So to explain that, let me just draw an iris here. This is the color part of your eye, and you put a contact lens over top of it. Well, that minus 3 would go in the 180-degree meridian. Okay, and then 90 degrees from that would be that 425. So there isn't a 125 in there because, again, the 125 is just the gap. And then there's lines in your contacts that tell you how to put that contact in. Okay, so watch for those lines when you put your contact lens. It'll tell you how to orient those powers so you don't have to wait. Okay, now let's talk about an eye looking far away that already has a good pair of contacts on. Okay, so light focuses on the fovea and you already have your prescription, your muscles are relaxed, your lens is flat. Let's say your contact is a minus 225 power. Okay, the point's already been moved back. All right, but then you've got your contacts on to see far away, and oh, you're over 40, and you go to look up close, and normally you flex your muscles and you change that lens, but let's say it doesn't change for you anymore. You can't focus that point forward. What the heck's going on here? Well, what happens after 40 is start losing the elasticity of this lens, okay? And this continues on beyond 40. So between 40 and 53, by 53 you have no more elasticity of that lens. All right, this is called presbyopia. Everybody in the world goes through this between 40 and 53. The lens loses its elasticity. The muscles remain strong, but the lens won't flex anymore. Okay, that's what presbyopia is, a loss of flexibility. Sometimes you can use a low power and focus the rest of the way on your own, sometimes a mid, and sometimes you need the whole gap covered and you need a high power contact lens, okay? So, so those are the three different powers. We have a low, a mid, and a high add that for a contact lens power. So when we write up your prescription, you see on the box, it'll say minus 225 power. That would be what your distance power is. And then it'll say mid or medium add for up close. So when you need additional power, additional power, that's what we call. We have a 225 with an additional power of a mid, which helps you see up close. Okay, so that's where the two different powers come in, the additional power on top of your regular power. All right, so let's convert your glasses prescription to contacts. All right, let's start off with an easy one. Minus 2 diopter glasses is, well, minus 2 diopters contacts. That's easy. Okay, how about a minus 4 diopter pair of glasses? Minus 4 contacts, easy. How about a more 425? Is it 4? No, it's a minus 4. Look at 4 and 425 are both a minus 4 for contacts. All right, that's kind of weird, right? Okay, what if you have a 250 minus 50x 180. Well, here's what it would look like if we did a cylinder. So we would take the middle one. We take the 275. All right. And it gets more complicated. So if we write up one that has a minus, like a more astigmatism. Remember, astigmatism only has 4 different ranges, so you have to find the range that works best for you. All right. So the point is that don't expect your glasses to match exactly with your contacts. Okay. Let your doctor figure out all that stuff. It gets much more complicated than what we just started, but you got a better idea about it. So talk to your doctor, develop a relationship, and figure out what's best for you. Okay? So thank you very much for watching, and go to delivercontacts.com for top brands, lowest price.